I'm Chase Younts, Brady King right there. Not too long ago they dropped, and we had some conversation about it a little bit. But you look at the top of the thing. Texas, Penn State, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia will pull the thing up right now. I mean, look at this. We've got this on the board. What are we looking at right here? Let's start up in the top 5 section right here. Texas, number 1. Do we agree with this to start the season off?
And I think it's fair. I don't know if I'd rank them number 1, but it's fair.
Okay. And then
it's one of those things to where, like, it's interesting to put them at 1 because I don't necessarily think they have definitively the best roster, and they also, aren't like the defending national champions. Not saying Ohio State should necessarily be 1, but it's like I think them and Ohio State are in an extremely similar situation. Maybe because Arch is a little more experienced than Julian's saying. I think it's fair. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. So you've got Texas at 1, Penn State 2, Ohio State 3, the defending champs, Clemson all the way up at 4, Georgia at 5. So that's your top 5 right there. Then 6 through 10, Notre Dame, Oregon, Bama, LSU, Miami, Notre Dame, the runner-ups of the country. 11 through 15, Arizona State, Illinois getting a lot of praise right now. Brady had them making the playoff this year. South Carolina 13, Michigan up to 14, and Florida sitting at 15. And then that next group, 16 through 20, SMU, Kansas State, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Indiana, who also made the playoff from the Big Ten last year. And then in that 21 through 25, Ole Miss, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Tennessee, and Boise State. A lot of other teams receiving votes down there. There's probably like 20 or so teams that are right down there in that AP poll. I think the biggest question of all of this, not the biggest question, but I think the biggest question that we point our attention to is 2 and 3, Ohio State and Penn State. Obviously, Penn State on paper has gotten a lot better this offseason because they've gone out and gotten more people. Ohio State more in that reloading phase as they have a lot of players that are stepping up to the plate that everyone internally and a lot of people in the Big Ten can see this team make that leap. Not even make that leap, just keep it afloat as they did last year. And it's just the next man up mentality for them. Ohio State, Penn State. Penn State has not beaten Ohio State since 2016. And the last time they beat Ohio State in Columbus, 2011. What are we thinking about this 2 and 3? I know we can't overreact about this because the games haven't even been played yet. But does Penn State have any right to be ranked over Ohio State going into the start of the season, Brady?
So my thing is this. If you're going to rank them over Ohio State, why aren't they number 1? Because if you're using the logic that they have everybody returning, not everybody, they lost Abdul Carter and Tyler Warren. But they have a lot of their core returning. If you're going to go that route, then they're number 1. If you're going to go the route of other teams that have, had more success last year and also returned, some guys and has a ton of talent behind them, then Texas and Ohio State are your 1 and 2. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for them to be in between Texas and Ohio State, in my opinion. And also, like you said, it's kind of weird when they haven't done it before to be in the preseason to start out with a ranking like this. Like, I don't agree with it. And because, again, I do think Penn State's going to be very good. I'm not saying they won't be a top 2 team in the country. They very well could be. But to be ranked there right now, I think is kind of nuts. And like you said, it doesn't really matter. The ball hasn't been spotted yet. The AP poll is the AP poll. But there isn't much of logic for them being number 2.
Yeah, and this is obviously something that, us college fans, writers, broadcasters, people that love watching college football and everything else, this is the last thing that happens before the actual season begins, where they put the number beside your name. It builds up the matchup. It builds it up even more. Storylines, this, that. What significance does this game have going forward? These numbers, rankings, do we get it right? How far off were we one way or another? So, obviously that plays a big part. So you just look at it, Penn State, Ohio State. I don't know. It confuses me, like you said, Brady, as to the logic of it's either Penn State's 1 in front of both of these teams, Texas and Ohio State, or Penn State's behind both of these teams. Not an either or type of scenario. It's one way or another. There's no split difference. There's no third option And it looked as though the AP poll went with the third option that wasn't even on the table. But right below, you got Clemson with Cade Klubnik as the number 4 team in the nation, and then Gunnar Stockton and the Georgia Bulldogs at number 5. What's more surprising right there?
So I think it's probably, for me, it's a little surprising Clemson got ranked ahead of Georgia after getting routed 34-3 last season to open the season, and Georgia being so consistent and, winning a couple natties of recent, and, last year having a solid year, making the Final 8, and having some injuries and all that. But I get it. Clemson is in a similar situation as Penn State in the sense that they have a lot of guys returning and, some they have high-end talent. They got some guys that are going to get picked high in this draft. They got TJ Parker and Peter Woods and Cade Klubnik. But they lost 4 games last year with all those guys. Do you think, it's like, sure, those guys are going to get better, but I mean, what is this? I think it's similar to the Penn State ranking, honestly. It really is. Except they weren't quite as good as Penn State last year, so, slightly lower on the list. But I would put Georgia ahead of them. I really would. And
yeah, I mean, because then you got to look at the full body of work with the team and how far they got. Obviously, both of those teams didn't win playoff games this past year. Georgia was obviously sitting at the number 2 seed, and they ended up losing to Notre Dame and then all that. But it is interesting to view on that. I know, a guy in the name of an addict of Clemson would not be too happy by that. But again, that's here or there.
We've invited him on the podcast.
We have invited him on the podcast.
And you know what he won't do? He won't show his face because then Daniel Harris will pop up if he did.
You know what? I'm not going to say a whole lot after that because you've pretty much said everything that's needed to be said. So you know what? I don't mess with those people, and there you go. Now, that's just off the Clemson note right there. So we look at 6 through 10, okay? Notre Dame, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Oregon, Dante Moore. You got Alabama down there at 8. They're trying to bounce back. 9, you got LSU and Nussmeier. And then 10, you got a former SEC quarterback and Carson Beck trying to lead the Hurricanes back to success. Out of the 6 through 10 teams, Brady, what team are you most excited to see this year under new leadership?
I'm most excited to see, I would say, Bama, because of the fact that they were a little disappointing in year 1 of DeBoer, and they have so much back. They really do. And in their case, I do think they'll get better for sure because I think they had a lot of young guys last year. A lot of their core on defense were young. Xavier Brown, freshman corner, he called game against Georgia though with that interception on Carson Beck. He could be a really good player. He was the best corner, one of the best corners in that class. And then guys like Caden Proctor, multi-year started as a true freshman for Bama in 23, projected top 5 pick, 6'7". He's 360. I don't care if anyone calls him 340. He's bigger than that. You can just tell sometimes. And just a tank. He was ranked the number 2 freak in college football, behind Jeremiah Smith and in front of Nick Harbor from South Carolina. And the fact that they finally might be able to throw the ball without having Jalen Milroe sit there and just wait 5 seconds and then get sacked 6 times a game. So. And maybe Ty Simpson won't be good. I don't know. I really don't. But that's my expectation. So, yeah, I think Bama is the team in that group that has the most intrigue for 2025.
Let's look at the next group. So you've got number 11 is Arizona State, who's coming off the playoff appearance. They had Cam Scatterboo last year, and they had the quarterback, the young guy in Sam Levitt, who, I think a lot of people are impressed with him early on. Illinois at 12. You were very high on them in the Big Ten preview video. If you guys haven't watched that, go check it out. Just a couple videos back. Altmaier, the quarterback. It's going to be fun to see that entire constructed team right there. And then at 13, Lenore Sellers and South Carolina. 13. We were talking about them with, maybe they're not, the best, well put together team. But again, I think a lot of it being the quarterback. 14-15. All right. So let me just ask this, okay? So Michigan was not good by any means last year. And again, you can go on, they beat Ohio State. Who cares? Okay. Whatever. These are the last two national champions, which is crazy to say. Michigan, Florida. Which team is ranked way too high out of the two? Because we talk about, there's always seems to be hype with Michigan going into the season, talking about the new quarterbacks that they have, whichever one they're going to go with. They're reloading in talent. Sharon Moore this, like what Underwood that, like, you know what I'm saying? You got that. And then you have Florida with Billy Napier, who somehow got a contract extension. I don't know how, but they usually fall flat on their face, especially to start the season off.
Yeah.
So having them at 14 and 15, which team is too high on this list to start things off? Who's going to be better this year, Michigan or Florida?
I think it makes a lot more sense for Michigan to be ranked in the top 15 than Florida Gators. And I actually don't think I can – this is the worst ranking on this list is Florida at 15. I'm not sure what people watched. I don't care that they almost beat Georgia. Carson Beck threw them the gift like 3 times that game. They weren't that good. DJ Lagway hasn't proven anything. And when I say this, he is no more proven than a guy like Dylan Raiola. He's not even a bit. So I don't know in what world that they are a top 15 team. Now, in Michigan's case, like you said, they were bad last year. They weren't good. You watched them try to move the ball in offense, try to throw the ball. It was awful. Their defense wasn't that good either. It really wasn't. They had a good D line, but there was times when people could run the ball on them last year. Even like it was out of sorts. Their pass defense was shaky. So they did lose talent. Losing those 2 D tackles is massive. Colston Loveland, obviously, they're by far their best weapon. They lost both of their running backs. Yeah. And they lost both of their running backs. But the reason I think that they will improve from last year is because they got a new offensive coordinator, Chip Lindsey from North Carolina. I think that I liked the way they played offense in North Carolina the past couple of years. And Bryce Underwood will be an upgrade from Davis Warren. I mean, cool story. Used to have cancer, all that. He might be the worst quarterback I've ever seen play major college football. And I'm saying that wow. He's so bad. Wow. He makes John O'Corn look like Johnny Manziel. Like, jeez. I mean, I can't believe they got into that situation last year with him. And so I think that's huge. Upgrade at quarterback. New play calling. Their receivers still aren't good, but they got some transfers that might be a little bit better than those guys. And they got a transfer running back, Justice Haynes from Bama. I think he might be better than both of the guys they had last year, in my opinion, talent-wise. I think that their offense will improve will 100% improve. And then their defense, I don't think it'll necessarily get worse. I think they got multiple D tackle transfers, including a Clemson D tackle transfer. I believe his name is Trey Williams, number 0. Big dude, solid player at Clemson. He'll play well. Rashawn Benny came back. TJ Guy and Derek Moore on the ends are good players, so their D-line will be one of the better D-lines of college football. Ernest Hausman and Jay Sean Barnum are back at linebacker, solid players. And then in the back end, they're going to have Rod Moore return, out of Dayton, Ohio. So their defense should be about as good, if not better. So overall, I don't see a world where Michigan is worse than last year, and I do see a world where Florida is just as bad. So
I mean, again, that's these AP polls, man. I mean, sometimes you really hit on these, and sometimes you whiff. And the Florida one will be interesting to see. Let's go through 16 through 20. So SMU at 16, Kansas State 17, Oklahoma 18, A&M 19, and Indiana 20. You've got Kansas State, Oklahoma, and A&M all used to be in the same conference, which is kind of funny to think about. And, but 2 of them now in the SEC. Out of the 16 through 20 range, is there a team that really stands out to you with this? I know Indiana obviously made the playoff last year and they lost a decent bit, but also gained a decent bit in the transfer portal. But what are we thinking right here?
I mean, it's got to be the blue blood. It's got to be Oklahoma after having some really disappointing seasons. Brent Venables has been a failure there. He just has so far. He got an extension. I'm not sure why. Really, I mean, I think he's one of the best D coordinators in the history of college football. But as a head coach, I mean, I'm hoping he gets fired and we somehow hire him as DC once Patricia leaves, unless Patricia, obviously is a huge success and wants to stay. But I just it's been a disappointment with him. And Oklahoma fans have gone through it the past couple of years. They're not used to, they've been a very consistent program before this. So I think they did a great job in the portal. They did a good job maintaining some of their top guys. Deion Burks was a huge get to stay, their most talented and best receiver, transferred from Purdue from a couple years ago. And to get John Mateer at quarterback and get Jaden Ott to fill out their backfield, that's a duo back there.
Yeah.
And if they can get, if they can play good offense like they used to, and their defense should be solid with Brent Venables, then they could make a little bit of noise. And a team we were just talking about, Michigan, they're going to go over to Oklahoma early. So we're going to see what Oklahoma is about early on this year. And very excited for them. And that team, they're one of my most intriguing teams in the whole country this year.
Yeah, especially with Jaden Ott, man. See what he did at California, man. That's going to be fun. What he can do in the SEC against some big-time competition, that game against Michigan, week 2 of the college football season. A night game on ABC. Now, we go through 21 through 25. Ole Miss, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Tennessee, Boise State. Boise State made the playoff last year as well as Tennessee. Ole Miss didn't make it. Iowa State and Texas Tech both residing in the Big 12. Brady, there's something about me that always sticks with Iowa State. I called a game a couple years ago. It was them versus Cincinnati on Cincinnati's homecoming game. 2 receivers from the Cyclones were drafted by the Houston Texans this year, and Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. Rocco Beck's been the starting quarterback since he's been a freshman. Iowa State, what's our read on them?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to play in 12 days, so we're going to really see what they're about here soon. But I thought they were very solid last year. I thought, every time I watched them on TV, I thought Rocco Beck, not like some stud quarterback, but very solid. He can get he's a good, he's a good starter. He's somebody that isn't going to make dumb decisions. He can get the ball to his playmakers. Like you said, they had two really good receivers last year. Probably one of the better receiver duos in their history if you really look down the line. And they made the Big 12 championship. They got beat by Arizona State, but it's very promising to return your quarterback and return, quite a few guys on defense after a very solid season. And then ending it off in the Pop-Tart Bowl against Miami. When that was a weird game. I remember watching that, over on winter break. That game I keep forgetting even happened. But but yeah, that was I think it was a 1-point game. But that was they're exciting this year. And I'm excited to watch them against Kansas State in Ireland in 12 days.
It's crazy.
Down week 0.
It's crazy to think, man. We're getting so close, and it's a ranked matchup. It's Kansas State at 17, and it's Iowa State at 22. I mean, Kansas State, this is going to be fun to see what they've got, and then Iowa State as well. I mean, these are 2 teams that are obviously trying to push for, that Big 12 supremacy up there. Arizona State being the team that won the conference last year. Iowa State almost made the playoff last year. We'll mention that. We'll get more into them in the Big 12 preview, and then obviously teams like Clemson and SMU going into the ACC preview. But, football's just around the corner. I do want to ask you this. How would you rank your top 10 teams going into the season? Let's make it quick, but I want to hear how you would kind of reshuffle this.
Yeah, so you got that. That's actually my 10 right there. Not in that order, but we're good. We're going to keep all 10 in my top 10. We're going to go – this is like Okay, I'm just going to go what I think they'll be this year instead of like not necessarily.
That's completely fine.
All right, I'm going to go 1 Texas, 2 Ohio State, 3 Penn State, 4 Alabama, 5 Clemson. I know I said Georgia should be ahead of them preseason. I stand by that, but I think Clemson will have a better year. 6 Notre Dame, 7 Georgia, 8 Oregon, 9 Miami, and 10 LSU. But I don't think LSU will make the playoff because I think they'll drop a game.
All right. So, and that's also the other team I was forgetting about, Miami. So we'll have more conversation about Miami, Clemson, SMU, other ACC teams. Georgia Tech. You know what? North Carolina. Bill Belichick's the head coach there. We'll have a whole segment about that and how odd that seems. But then again, you know, I'm just going to throw out this funny question. So when Deion Sanders started coaching at Colorado, obviously better, you know, they had some great talent when he initially went in there and revamped the entire roster. It took them 3 games to be ranked, correct?
Yeah.
I think it was 3 games to be ranked.
Mm-hmm.
How many games will North Carolina have to win out of the gate to be ranked because Bill Belichick is their head coach? They have to go blank and 0. How many wins?
They play, I think in those first games, they don't play that hard of a schedule. I would go 5.
Okay.
I think it really helped Colorado that they played the defending national runner-ups week 1 and 1, not knowing that they were trash. So it's like kind of like they got a little bump for that, which is fair. And then, you know, obviously the Cinderella story is over, man, of Dan landing in the locker room.
Oh my gosh,
Oregon came out stomping. But yeah, I would say about 5 games. They'll get it earlier than what should be because, you know, they don't play a super daunting schedule. But
it's funny you mentioned that, Brady, because their first game's against TCU, and that's obviously a nationally televised game.
Yeah, same team that Colorado played.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they literally started off with TCU in 2023, but they get the home game. I assume Fowler and Herbstreit will be there for that one, as being Belichick. That's just going to be so weird. And then they literally play a game at Charlotte.
That's so weird.
They play at Charlotte, of all places. Then they play Richmond. They host Richmond, and then they go down to Central Florida and play in the Bounce House. And that 5th game, Brady, guess what coaching matchup we've got? Dabo Swinney versus Bill Belichick on October 4th.
Yeah. So I think I might have nailed the number then.
I think you did.
I didn't even know they played the 5th game, but
if they go 4-0 and then they knock off Clemson, and that's a home game for North Carolina. Let's put this in preface. That's a home game. So
I'll say this then. I think they have to win 5 games to be ranked in the top 10, 15. Like they'll easily be in the 25 if they win that game and they're undefeated.
Wow. It's fun to talk about, and we'll obviously dive in more about Bill Belichick, UNC. The ACC's up next. We're just going to put that out there. It's going to be the next thing that we preview, and then the Big 12 after that. And then we'll have some predictions, full predictions with the playoff, stat leaders, all that stuff. Matt is going to be coming back for that big episode. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. With that being said, I'm Chase Younts. That's Brady King. We'll see you guys next time here on